Hey there, Angel Rabix Gaming with a new video for Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Fellow potato gamers of the world, it's time to assemble and defeat the final boss in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, Radahn Consort of Miquella. I'll be talking about character stats, weapons, armor, talismans, spells, how to dodge and counter, and much more so you have the best chance to push through this fight and defeat this big guy back to the grave once and for all. There are timestamps in the description of the video and YouTube player as well, in case you want to jump to any part of this guide in particular, but without further ado, let's jump right into it. Before we begin with the build, I just want to show my character stats because this was one of the key details that helped me seal the deal when I already knew the mechanics of the whole fight. My character level is 198 with level 14 Scadutree Blessing and level 8 Revered Spirit Ash Blessing. With this level of blessings, I felt that the damage that I was dealing and receiving was fair, but I did tweak some of my character stats by doing a rebirth with a larval tier, so I didn't have to worry that much about messing up during the fight and have some room to breathe between attacks. I prioritized vigor, strength, and dexterity just shy above the 50 point mark by lowering my intelligence and faith to the minimum requirement for me to cast Incantations. Mine and endurance were in the 30 to 40 point range, and most importantly, I did a boost to my arcane to elevate my defense power against holy attacks. Now let's move on to my build, which is a semi-tank holy damage negation build. I say semi-tank because when writing the script for this video I discovered this absolute legend named Let Me Tank Her that has an amazing tank build which I would recommend checking out. And while mine is not so tanky, it also has a focus on dodging as well that suited my potato playstyle. For the weapons, I'm using a max level Blood Milady light greatsword paired with the Blood Tax Ash of War. The reason for this weapon is very simple. Radahn bleeds, and if he bleeds we can kill it, especially with this Ash of War in particular that does a set of consecutive strikes that build the bleed status fast. And if we use a Mimic tier and summon Ansbach as a cooperator as well, we have a recipe for a success. Next, we have a seal for doing some buffing incantations at the beginning of the fight only. Nothing too fancy, it can be another seal, but there's really not much thinking behind it, so don't worry about it. You can use whatever seal that you have. The Sacred Black Steel Great Shield from Black Shield Knight is probably one of the key aspects of this build. When given the sacred attribute with a no skill Ash of War, we're bumping its holy guarded damage negation to 100. This is perfect for phase 2 where Radahn goes absolutely bananas with the holy damage and will save your butt even against some of the most powerful holy attacks he performs if you have enough stamina to back it up. Continuing with the build, I have my 4 highest holy damage negation pieces equipped. All of these together brings my holy damage negation to 57%, but this can get higher if you pair it with the correct spell, Bubbletear, or Talisman. More of that in a moment. Talking about Incantations, I use Golden Bow to increase attack and defense for me and my ally, Black Flame's protection to increase physical damage negation, and Flame grant me strength to raise physical and fire affinity attack power. For the Talismans, I use the two-headed turtle to raise stamina recovery speed. This works great with the tank part of this build to breathe between Radahn's barrages and avoid getting a direct hit, especially during the second phase where he will be non-stop harassing you with his attacks. The Sword of Alexander greatly boosts the attack power of the skills, working perfectly with the bloody poking power of the Blood Tax. Erdtree's Favor +2 for extra maximum HP, stamina and equip load, overall very helpful in all stages of the battle, and finally Talisman of Lord's Bestowal that increases poise after using a Flask of Tears, something that happened very frequently in my case in the second phase, which helps with the tanky build as well. Some honorable mentions that would serve as an alternative for these talismans would be the Golden Braid, which boosts holy damage negation by the utmost, and the Great Talisman, which reduces the stamina damage taken while blocking. Finally, my Flask of Wondrous Physics has a Crimson Bubbletear to restore HP when near death because mistakes do happen, and Opaline Bubbletear to significantly negate damage received. At last, let's move on to the overall strategy for the fight. There's no way to sugarcoat this is not an easy fight. I do think this is an easy strategy for Radahn, especially in the hands of better potatoes than me, Lord Potato, but you'll definitely have to put some work into it, learning how to dodge at least some of his attacks to get the most out of it. You'll see why in just a minute. Before starting phase 1, I do the whole ritual of summoning Ansbach to the battle, then casting my incantations, starting with the Black Flame, then Flame grant me strength, and leaving the Golden Bow for the last to give the boost also to Ansbach. I chuck the Wondrous Flask at this moment because I know I could wait for the beginning of phase 2. The thing is that I get too overwhelmed with the little time to breathe, and I prefer to prepare everything before jumping into the battlefield. An additional final step would be to use Rune Arc to activate Godric's Great Rune and get a final bump to all your stats, but I would recommend only doing so once you're constantly reaching the final leg of phase 2 so you don't throw them to waste. Let's start with phase 1. Phase 1 is pretty straightforward and pretty fast. Get inside, summon your Mimic Tier, and then keep grabbing the attention so Radahn goes aggro on you while your teammates build up lead. These can be really fast, but depends on how well you perform your task on distracting Radahn. To do this effectively, I use the shield to block any incoming damage, which really works fantastic, and as a bonus tip, try to align Radahn with your character in such a way that the swings from his swords don't hit your companions and then get caught in collateral damage. The only two problems with keeping the focus on blocking are that if you don't attack him, well, he'll eventually turn around and go aggro on someone else, and that you need to help with some attacks on your own to help that bleed status to continue to build. That's what I'm going to show you how to evade some of his moves so you can skip to phase 2 as quickly as possible, but remember, the less time you take on training your muscle memory to dodge towards Radahn rather than away from him, the more likely you are to have more damage windows for you to poke him with your sword.
Lord Move will have his dignity.
Upon starting phase 2, heal yourself, replenish your FP, and proceed to block with your shield. The blast will do nothing to you thanks to the holy damage negation of the shield and will give you a good opening for attacking as he descends. Now phase 2 is basically the same as phase 1 but with more fireworks. Let me explain. His moveset is almost exactly the same as in phase 1. The only thing you have to consider is that every swing from Radahn's sword is followed by a bunch of holy beams from Miquella. Your shield is prepared to block all of this incoming damage thanks to that 100 holy damage negation. So don't worry, what you need to pay attention here is to your stamina bar, so you don't drain it too much that you start taking actual damage, or worse, end up killed. There are some attacks where he launches some sort of holograms before actually hitting you. This may be confusing at first, but just hold your shield and prepare to evade the final blow to escape the holy damage. One of the most dangerous attacks in this phase is the "My husband and I saw you from across the bar" attack, where Radahn will give you a bear hug and Miquella will sweet talk you out of battle if she manages to get to talk to you twice. That goes for either you or your companion, so watch out and evade after you see him glowing gold, so you can counterattack. Or, if your companions get caught, just prepare to attack after he starts raising his arms. Finally, the bamboozle attack is back as the icing on the cake, but this time there's a holy explosion that can wipe you if you're not careful. Just run to the nearest wall, turn your back to the wall, and hold the shield. This will block oncoming damage and will leave you ready to face the final part of phase 2. If you reach this point, I would suggest taking a deep breath. There are no changes, you just need to keep doing what you've been doing the whole fight, and don't get desperate or greedy or overconfident about having victory so near, because trust me, mistakes can happen and are very painful in this phase of the battle. When you deal the final blow against Radahn, you will be rewarded with the remembrance of a god and a lord and 375,000 runes. There's also a memory that shows a cutscene that I won't spoil for you, and after watching it, the Circle of Light tiara will be yours. And that's it. Congrats, you've defeated Radahn and Miquella. Be sure to check out more Shadow of the Erdtree DLC videos that I will be uploading to his playlist right here as I progress through the game. But for now, I hope this was useful, thank you for watching, and keep enjoying the game.